This is Askia Muhammad Touré al-Hajj, leader of the largest territorial empire in West African history. Of the great Askia Muhammad and his Songhai peoples, we know only little, with most of our knowledge stemming from two texts, known jointly as the Chronicles of Timbuktu. Muhammad Touré, who would not wield the title of Askia until later in life, was born around the year 1443 to parents believed to belong to the Soninke ethnic group of modern-day countries Senegal and Guinea. Muhammad was born into the historic Songhai capital city of Gao, located in the Sahel region of modern-day Mali. Little else is known about Muhammad's early life until he serves as a general and regional commander to the feared Sunni Ali, king of the Songhai. In some reports, Muhammad is even referred to as Sunni Ali's nephew, the son of Sunni Ali's sister Casey and a genie, a mischievous spirit common in East African and West African folklore. Of course, Casey, it was a genie.
Who are you gonna call? Someone else.
To many local griots, or oral historians and storytellers, Sunni Ali is known as the magical king or the great king, but many Muslim scholars of the time consistently refer to Sunni Ali as a ruthless and despicable ruler who committed many atrocities against his people and others. While his rifts with the Muslim world may have added to his negative press, his years of rapid expansion and the rebirth of the Songhai Empire from the ashes of the Mali Empire left him with a powerful legacy throughout the Sahel, marred only in part by acts of brutality which would eventually lead to his downfall. The most notable of his merciless acts came in the year 1468. For decades, the city of Timbuktu, famed for its ideal bookkeeping conditions and scholarship, flourished as a distant outpost for Muslim scholarship from the east. The city is referred to by some as being named after an old lady, Buktu, that lived there with slaves and would trade with passing nomads. The name literally means Tim, place of, Buktu, the place of Buktu. In 1468, King Sunni Ali decided it was time for the scholars and intellectual elite of Timbuktu to bend their knees to the Songhai, and more specifically, him. Sunni Ali ordered his army into the city, meeting very little defensive resistance. Prior to his invasion, many of the scholars fled, bringing volumes of texts with them, fearing the worst. Sunni Ali cut off his final ties with the greater Muslim world as he ordered the slaughter of Timbuktu's remaining scholars, as well as the scorching of all remaining books in the city. Sunni Ali continued to rule over the region through until 1492, when he met his death for reasons still not entirely clear today. The Tariq al-Sudan, one of the two Chronicles of Timbuktu, states that Sunni Ali drowned in a river after two Muslim clerics prayed against him because of wrongdoings he had committed against them. Others say that Sunni Ali was ordered to death by Muhammad, who had grown frustrated of his rule and secretly grew support from within the military. Following Sunni Ali's death, his son, Sunni Baru, briefly took up his mantle until being defeated by Muhammad in Gao in 1493. After assuming power, Muhammad branded himself Askia of the Songhai. The name could possibly be a sign of disrespect to the sisters of Sunni Ali, who always said Asitia, or he will not be. Askia Muhammad supposedly spent no wasted time befriending the Khadib, or preacher, of Gao. This friendship would provide him extra financial backing and Muslim clerics to escort him on an upcoming pilgrimage through Mecca and the other epicenters of the Muslim world at the time.
How did you get the house back from the bank?
I bought the bank.
Some reports suggest that the religious guides that escorted the Askia on his pilgrimage had all come from the Gao region, and that while the pilgrimage may have been in part a spiritual journey for the Askia, he was also likely attempting to build his legitimacy in the Islamic world to gain the support of Timbuktu and the other Western territories. Whilst visiting Cairo, the Askia would study with renowned Muslim scholar Jalal al-Din al-Suyuti. During his stay, the Askia would also be deemed the Abbasid Caliph's assistant in governing the outer regions of the Muslim world. Most importantly, the Askia was named the official Islamic ruler of the Tukrur, which represented primarily the Sahel region of West Africa. This validation from the Caliph gave Askia the much-needed legitimacy in the Western territories he was seeking. This was especially important considering that he was of mixed ethnic origins. A trusted Maliki scholar named al-Maghili would cement the Askia's position in the years after his pilgrimage by naming him and his jihad as the rebirther of Islam in a region that had strayed from the religion under Sunni Ali. Following his pilgrimage, the Askia returned to Gao in 1498. The Askia quickly set to work building ties with the Muslim elite in order to help consolidate the empire through missionaries that would spread the Askia's influence by converting smaller outlying settlements to Islam, thus making the converts bound to the ordained Askia's rule. Timbuktu chronicler Sadi, author of the Tariq al-Sudan, noted that at one point, Muhammad's territory spanned all the way from the Atlantic coast, northwest to Tagaza, southwest to Bendugu, southeast to Busa, and northeast to Agadez, although it is likely that at one point his reign extended even beyond these boundaries. Songhai expansion was upheld by a wave of policy and technological reforms enacted by Askia Muhammad. Whereas previous armies had been primarily constituted by slaves, Askia began focusing on the training of professional armies and modern cavalry. These highly trained armies led successful campaigns against the Mossi tribe of the south and the people of Air, modern-day Niger. After conquering a new territory, the Askia was proficient at consolidating it into the greater empire by setting up efficient administration through regional generals. Islam would then be installed as the primary religion if it had not been already. The Askia was also credited for his religious and especially multi-ethnic tolerance that helped maintain peace, especially across border regions. The empire also benefited from a new tithe and tax system, well-regulated agricultural production, and a well-studied selection of political officials. In an unverified history of the Songhai from the 19th century, pseudonymous Al-Inam al-Takrori states that the aforementioned Al-Hajj Muhammad was easy to approach, kind-hearted, and benevolent, greatly respectful of the religious leaders and very fond of the scholars, showing them the greatest honor. As the Askia grew older, his sight quickly deteriorated, leaving him utterly dependent on his closest officials and advisors. It is thought that his confidant Ali Folen played a major role in the decision-making of the aged Muhammad in his later years as ruler. Mounting paranoia peaked following the death of Askia Muhammad's commander-in-chief and brother, Kanfari Omar, in 1519. As the great Askia's fear turned to contempt, his many brothers and sons quarreled over their inheritance of the throne after his death. In 1528, Askia Muhammad's son Musa decided he could wait no longer and quickly defeated military commander Yahya in battle, forcing his father into exile on an overgrown island where he would helplessly remain and watch as newly crowned Askia Musa would be replaced by his brother Askia Bunkan, and finally Askia Muhammad's other son, Askia Ismail. Askia Ismail would gratefully return his father to Gao. Askia Muhammad would then gift Ismail with his green turban and saber as a confirmation of his blessing as the successive ruler of the Songhai. Only 1 year after his return from exile, the old and blind Askia Muhammad would meet his end in the year 1538. His tomb, a building of earth surmounted by wooden spikes, is still one of the most venerated mosques in West Africa to this day. Askia Muhammad the Great was able to establish peace and a culturally rich empire in West Africa, with more expansive borders than most empires in history. Many of the Askia's accomplishments are divided amongst the influencers that surrounded him, such as Muslim reformer al-Maghili and the Abbasid Caliph. But it is unlikely that he would have accomplished so much if he were unwilling to accept the help of the various ideological representatives in and around Songhai. The Hatib of Gao gave Askia a link to his pagan Songhaian subjects, while the Caliph of Cairo gave him more dominion over the Islamic intellectual elite of Timbuktu. By connecting and regulating the interactions of these various demographics, the Askia brought an era of peace, religious harmony, and cultural production to the Sahel, which is still felt in the region today. That's all for episode 1. If you enjoyed, please leave a like or subscribe, or leave a comment suggesting a future video that you would like to see. I'll see you guys next time. Have fun learning.